headlined by the champs and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I can tell you that the biggest risers were the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and the biggest fallers out of the top 10, same division, the Patriots. All right, so let's bring in our power rankings guru, Pete Prisco, along with two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. So Pete will deliver the power rankings team, and then B-Mac, you can certainly react to that. So let's start with Kansas City after the draft as well. Pete, number one, looking pretty good.
Yeah, and as long as Patrick Mahomes is slinging it and Andy Reid is coaching it and they add some good players here and there, which they did last year when a lot of people questioned their draft and ended up with a bunch of guys contributing major way as rookies, they're going to be the team to beat. And Patrick Mahomes gives them that. And that's why they're the number one team. And usually, by the way, I keep the number one team, the Super Bowl winner, in the number one spot until the season starts, until they show me differently. So the Chiefs are the favorite for a reason. They're the number one team.
I agree with you in regards to the champs remaining at number one. But question for you, Pete, is when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they had a better draft than the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a lot of guys returning from that Super Bowl run a year ago. How far is the gap between Philly and the Chiefs currently as you see the rosters assembled today?
You know, B-Mac, it's not that far. It really isn't. But again, here's what we have to figure out. Jalen Hurts was phenomenal last year. They paid him. There's a lot of expectations now on him. And so how does he handle it? I think he'll be okay, but we don't know that. We know what we get with Patrick Mahomes, and that's the biggest reason why they're in the top spot and the Eagles are right behind him. I'm with you. The Eagles have a much easier path to navigate in the NFC, so I could understand somebody, flipping them around. I just give proper credit to the champs, and that's why I have them number one.
So, guys, let's move out of the top five, which are the usual suspects, deservedly so, but let's pick things up at number 6, Pete. The Jaguars, I know you're high on them, but take us through your thoughts on their draft and now moving forward.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't love their draft like some people did. I think they got a lot of bodies. They traded down, got a lot of draft picks, and they had to do it. In large part because Trevor Lawrence will be getting one of those mega deals next year, and I think you have to prepare for that. The thing about Jacksonville is this. The progress of players going from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 to year 3. That's why they will be better. One of those players is Trevor Lawrence. He, to me, is now a bona fide top 5, top 6 quarterback in this league. And I think it's going to play out. And here's the other thing with Jacksonville. You have to take into account their division. It will feature a new quarterback, a rookie quarterback in Indy, a rookie quarterback in Houston, and maybe even a rookie quarterback at some point in Tennessee. That makes the division very winnable, and you have a lot of winnable games. And not only that, they play the NFC South. You look at that landscape. Carolina will have a rookie quarterback. Derek Carr is in New Orleans, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, and Atlanta has a second-year quarterback. So I think there's a lot of winnable games on their schedule, which will make them one of those teams that has a better record, maybe than some of the other AFC teams in the conference.
And outside of their schedule, as Pete just highlighted there, look at the talent on their team, on their roster, on both sides of the football. Now you got to figure out what's going to happen with Cam Robinson potentially missing some ball games. You might insert rookie Anton Harrison instantly into the lineup. But outside of that, this is a very, very talented team playing in a watered-down division, as Pete just mentioned. The AFC South will be watered down. So they should run away with that division easily based on the experience they have returning, along with the talent. And don't forget, yes, Trevor Lawrence, we believe he will continue to take steps in the right direction under that staff offensively. But he's getting a proven number one target back in the lineup in Calvin Ridley as well. So the expectations should be extremely high in Duval for the Jacksonville Jaguars. How will they handle the expectations? Because they're in a position they haven't been in quite some time in regards to people expecting the Jaguars to take care of their business week in and week out.
Expectations are pretty high in Florham Park, Jersey as well with the arrival of Aaron Rodgers. Now, Pete, we know that they're your biggest risers, 13 spots. How much further did you maybe think about moving them? Cowboys were at 7. We talked about the Jags at 6. Take us through the thought process of the Jets here.
Well, I think the division's brutal, Tommy. I mean, you look at that division. Buffalo's, to my mind, still the team to beat. Then you have Miami. I mean, when you look at Miami, they're on the rise. If Tua's in the lineup, they're probably going to be a playoff contender. And then you look around, even New England. New England's still New England. They're not as good as they've been, but they still have Bill Belichick, and going to New England's tough to win. That's why I didn't move them up, Tommy. That's why I didn't move them up that much. But again, this is another young team. Yeah, Rodgers is there. But this is a young team that now has to learn how to handle expectations. And B-Mac can attest to this. When you're young players, you have to learn how to win big games. It's one thing to win games. It's another thing to learn how to win big games. And I think that's where the Jets are right now. So I moved them up, yes, but I still think Buffalo's the team to beat in the division.
Yeah, I think having the Jets in the top 10 is deserving, just with Aaron Rodgers being there now. Seeing how well they were able to perform, especially on the defensive side, with basically me playing quarterback, gives you a reason to be hopeful, knowing they have number 8 as their starting quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. But as you mentioned, a lot of young studs on their team that really played exceptionally well last year. This year, they're expecting to play. So that's a different kind of pressure than what they had in front of them a year ago. But I do believe they have everything in place to be able to take care of their business. But just the gauntlet of teams they will see twice a year in the division alone will make things extremely sticky for the Jets. But seeing where they're currently placed in Pete's power rankings in the top 10, I have no issue with the Jets being 8.
You know, we're taking a look at the odds to win the Super Bowl next year, and the Jets come in at 14-1. Now, this is interesting because in Pete's power rankings, the Dolphins are right behind the Jets at number 9. We could almost play a Pete versus the book mini topic here, Prisco, because the Dolphins at Caesars Sportsbook are 30-1, so they're not given as much respect in the odds makers as they are with Pete Prisco here.
Well, I think that has something to do with the fact that everybody gets enamored with the new thing in town, and that's, Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real. Aaron Rodgers is now a member of the New York Jets, so you got to move him ahead of the Miami Dolphins, and I get it. And there's some uncertainty about how much and how long Tua will be in the lineup. I mean, that's a real possibility that he doesn't play the entire season. So I understand that, but going out and getting Jalen Ramsey, big-time move for the Dolphins. They're going to be really, really talented on the defensive side. There are some concerns on the offensive line, which is I'm surprised they didn't use a pick earlier than the 7th round to address that. But I do think they'll have some, if guys can stay healthy, they'll be good enough up front. They're going to score a lot of points. The question becomes, on defensive side of the ball, can they stop those high-flying offenses in New York and the high-flying offense in Buffalo?
I think we will see a much improved defense under the coaching of Vic Fangio and his staff. You talk about adding Jalen Ramsey. You look at how they dial things up in regards to the blitz concept. When you have a guy like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, 2 guys that can really harass any opposing quarterbacks, the defense they will be better. Now, offensively, I think this is all about Tua Tagovailoa. Will he be healthy? Will he be able to be healthy the entire season? Because if he's not in the lineup, good luck. We've seen what this team is without Tua Tagovailoa in the lineup. So that is the biggest concern for me in regards to the Miami Dolphins. They have everything you would want to have plus more in regards to the pass catching positions. Of course, they address the running back position in the draft. But everything a quarterback will want to have, they have there. It's just about being healthy for Tua Tagovailoa. So when you rank the teams in the AFC East solely, I think it's probably safe to say they would probably be 3rd, and that's how Pete basically has it in his power ranking. And I think the biggest question mark in regards to the Miami Dolphins is not about the talent. It's not about can they be productive. It's about the health of their starting quarterback.
3 AFC East teams in the top 10 for Pete Prisco. So let's start tackling some teams in the teens. So, Pete, the Browns at 14.
I think if Deshaun Watson can get back to playing football like he did with the Texans in his prime, I think this team is dangerous. I really do. Now, that's a big if. And everybody said, well, he's missed all that time. He hasn't played a lot of football. He came back last year and didn't have the offseason. He didn't have the training camp. And so I think, yeah, there's some issues there. But again, if he can get back to playing at a high level, you look at that division, it's tough. I mean, Baltimore's good. Cincinnati's really good. And I think Pittsburgh's going to be better. So it's a tough division. But again, look at the roster in Cleveland. There are not a lot of weak spots on that roster. We know they want to run the ball. They're going to throw it better if Watson's in there. So they're a dangerous team in my book.
But Pete, you're putting a lot of trust in Deshaun Watson in being able to go back to the player he was throughout his glory years with the Houston Texans. I think he has that skill set. How long will it take him in 2023? We have to wait and see. But yes, they have some talent there. But in regards to the division, it's going to be a tough slate week in and week out. And then also too, Pete, how much do you trust their coach and Kevin Stefanski? I think this is a critical, pivotal year for Kevin Stefanski there in Houston because that cupboard is not bare in regards to talent, and they finally have a quarterback. So it's imperative for him to strike now and be consistent because if they have another down year, who knows what that coaching could look like for the Cleveland Browns moving forward in 2024.
Cleveland moving up 9 spots, tied for the second largest leap there in the Prisco power rankings. Seahawks at 15, Pete.
Yeah, look, the division isn't very good. Let's be real. The Rams and the Cardinals both stink right now, and they're both in basically rebuild mode. The Cardinals having a quarterback coming off an ACL. So it's a 2-team division. That's always a good thing. And the 49ers have some quarterback uncertainty. So if Seattle, which had a lot of good young players play last year, their rookie class was phenomenal. They had another solid draft. If Geno Smith can be Geno Smith of last year, then I think they're going to push for the division title. If he somehow reverts to being Geno Smith of yesteryear, they're going to have major problems. They're going to have to draft a quarterback. So I think when you look at it on the surface, the division's not very good. I think the young talent will be better. It will give them an opportunity to push the 49ers in the division.
And because of all of that, Pete, I'm surprised you have Seattle at 15. I think they should easily be top 10. I think worst case scenario, they could be 12 or 11, but clearly I think that 10th spot is ideal for the Seattle Seahawks based on everything you mentioned. Look at the division. Look at the uncertainty in the division. At the quarterback spot for Arizona, the same can be said for the San Francisco 49ers. And who knows what we will see from the Los Angeles Rams when you factor in what they did a year ago in the draft and just doubling back and doing exactly almost the same thing, hitting on big-time contributors for their organization. I think the sky is the limit for the Seattle Seahawks. And I do believe Geno Smith will be consistent in his production because if you look at what they have offensively, the structure is not about relying on his arm. They can run the football. Continuity on the offensive line. They got some horses in the backfield as well. And of course, they got the wide receivers. So me personally, seeing the Seattle Seahawks at 15 was the first thing that I was extremely critical about in your power rankings because I think they will have another productive year when you factor everything they've done via free agency and the draft. And as you mentioned, Pete, that division.
I like where your head's at,
Which top 10 teams should they go and replace, B-Mac?
The Chargers. The Chargers.
Stop.
The Chargers.
Stop it.
The Chargers. No. The Chargers. And you
you're
have the
all
Chargers.
in on Geno Smith already. 1 year, you're all in.
No.
You're bought in on Geno Smith.
Wait a minute. I'm not saying that I'm all in on Geno. What I'm saying is I'm all in with their structure. You don't have to rely on Geno to throw 300 yards and 404 touchdowns a game. You don't have to. They have balance. When you factor in the Chargers, you have the Chargers there solely because of Justin Herbert. And I get your logic. I get your thought process. But we know time and time again, under Brandon Staley, that team has underachieved. They have underachieved since he's been the head coach there. One thing you can't say in regards to the Seattle Seahawks under Pete Carroll, especially going back to last year, they were able to do more with less. And I trust Pete Carroll more so than Brandon Staley.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion, B-Mac.
You guys are going ahead of script because I wanted to do this with the Steelers, but you guys just did it with the Seahawks. So we're going to flip things. B-Mac, tell me your thoughts on the Steelers, which right now sit number 16 in Pete's ranking. So B-Mac, you go first, and then Pete will follow.
I think that's a fair spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. An above 500 record a year ago with a rookie quarterback who really played good football, especially the last 7 ball games of the regular season last year. One would think Kenny Pickett will improve, especially with everything they've done to add talent around the young quarterback. Of course, his division is going to be very, very tough, but they're okay in the division. One thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, even in the down type moments, they play pretty good football against divisional opponents, and I love everything they've done defensively. If you talk about the draft last week, they're one of the best teams in the National Football League in everything they were able to do throughout the entire weekend of the NFL draft. So seeing them currently at 16th I'm okay with that. I think they have room to grow, but I can tell you this much: they will cause a lot of havoc in their division, especially if they're healthy on both sides of the football.
Yeah, I'm with you, B-Mac. This team can be much higher. If Kenny Pickett takes the next step, they're going to be a much higher team in these power rankings come December. I can promise you that. They are still talented. They still have Mike Tomlin coaching them. They're going to play hard. They're going to play tough. I just think that when you look at the division right now on the surface, they're the fourth team in the division. Now, it doesn't always work out that way, but going in, they're the fourth team in the division.
You know, there's a change in the NFL landscape when the Green Bay Packers are the last team in the NFC North with the longest odds to win the division. Taking a look at how far they've dropped in Pete Prisco's power rankings, 4 slots for Green Bay. Still inside the top 20, but coming in at 19, and no Aaron Rodgers, and in comes Jordan Love. Back here with the fellas, Pete Prisco and Bryant McFadden. So let's start with number 19, Pete, and Green Bay Packers here coming in hot.
Yeah, and again, this is just to see where they are with Jordan Love. Nobody has any idea. Look, he flashed at times, was much better last year when he played. I get it. But this is really an opportunity for him to show he's the long-term answer, A, and B, show that they can build it around him. I still think that Packers have talented players. And, you know, you talk about their receivers from a year ago. You know, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are going to be second-year players. They will be better. They drafted some good tight ends. Defensively, I think they're going to be much better. They'll be healthier on the offensive line. So it all comes down to Jordan Love. If Jordan Love takes a giant step forward, then I think they have a chance to push the Lions and the Vikings in that division. If he does not, then I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, and they might be looking for a new quarterback next year.
You know what, guys? I heard a lot of ifs in regards to Pete's statement why the Green Bay Packers are currently at 19. And that's my concern. There's a lot of ifs. If Jordan Love does this, if he establishes a relationship with the young receivers, if the young receivers take a step in the next direction, the right direction, I'm concerned. So I'm a bit mindful in having the Green Bay Packers at 19, Pete, just solely about what we will see. What will we see from Jordan Love and those young pass catchers that you hit on? So I don't know. I think when you look at the NFC North right now, best case scenario for the Green Bay Packers, they probably would be third in their division right now. And I would say that gladly, with the Detroit Lions probably being first and Chicago probably being second based on what they did last year, and especially with the quarterback development from both organizations. So I'm a bit surprised to see the Green Bay Packers at 19, because clearly this team missed the playoffs last year with Aaron Rodgers. We saw growth from their young receivers, but Aaron Rodgers was throwing those young receivers the football. What will we see from Jordan Love? A very, very small sample size, if you would like to say that, coming from their future quarterback moving forward. Can he handle that type of pressure? We don't know. So because of all the ifs that you hit on, Pete, I'm surprised that you have them at 19.
Well, they still have a talented roster, B-Mac. I mean, you look at their roster, there's some good football players on that team. And the offensive line was beaten up last year. I mean, they never played together. It was brutalized up front. So I think that matters. I think they'll be better on the offensive line. I still think they're going to be able to rush the passer. You're going to see guys like Devontae Wyatt's going to take the next step. Quay Walker's going to take the next step. And you got to, when those guys, those young guys do that, you got to assume growth. Again, though, I agree with you. It's all on Jordan Love.
All right, let's get to the Bears, where, again, there's a discrepancy with B-Mac and the betting market. Yeah. Bears coming in at 23, Pete.
Yeah, look, I like what the Bears are doing. I just think they're a year away. And I do think in a year from now they'll push for the division title. I'm a big believer in Justin Fields. I was when he came out, maybe even more so. He's got to be better standing in the pocket, making the throws. They improved the offensive line in front of him. That was paramount. They had to do that, because if he was getting pressured like he did last year, he wouldn't hold up. So I think when you look at this team, there's still some issues. How are they going to rush the passer consistently? They had a good draft. They drafted some big bodies on the interior. I think Stevenson's a nice pickup at corner. They needed help there. So they're moving in the right direction. I just think they're probably a year away from competing in a division.
I don't think so. I think their time is right now. The division is not scary for me. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is no longer there. If you had to rank the quarterbacks in their division, I mean, Justin Fields could be second in their division in regards to expectations for this upcoming year. And that says a lot. That means a lot. So I think their time is right now. I'm surprised that you have them at 23. I think you could easily swap 19 and 23, and I would be okay with that. I think the Bears will have a better ball club than the Green Bay Packers, especially if Justin Fields is healthy. They improved the offensive line, as you hit on. They gave him a number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore. Hopefully a full year, a full offseason with a guy like Chase Claypool can help. We know about Darnell Mooney. You look at Cole Kmet, the offensive line, running backs. They got thunder and lightning basically in the backfield, and Foreman and Herbert. And defensively, I believe they will continue to add a piece or two to their defense in regards to rushing the passer. But they spend a lot of money on Edmonds, so they got the brains of the operation of the defensive side. And like I said, in that division, it's pretty wide open right now. So seeing them at 23, I have an issue. I think you can swap 23 and 19, and then your list will be almost all the way right.
Guys, we got to start wrapping.
So, okay, let me
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to hear his ranking of the quarterbacks in the division if he's number 2. How do you have him?
Right now, I would put Kirk Cousins 1, Justin Fields 2, Jared Goff 3.
Stop it. Jared Goff is ahead of him right now. He might not be by the end of the year, but he is right now.
All right. You know what we need to do? We need to have Pete on All Things Covered to kind of extrapolate the power rank. We'll have time for one thing here. Pete, just give us the Cardinals and why they're last at 32. Just Pete here.
Take a look at the roster. The quarterback's coming off an ACL, but watch out for them because they have 6 picks in the top 100 next year, including 2 that could be in the top 5 next year. Watch out for Arizona, but right now they're the worst team in the league.
Pete Prisco,
Pete,
thank you. Brian McFadden, thank you very much,
Real
guys.
quick, the Arizona Cardinals are like the Oklahoma City Thunder in basketball with all these future picks that they'll have for the next 10 years moving forward.
Love it, guys. B-Mac, thank you. Pete, thank you very much. All Things Covered, Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden. We've updated the graphic. We've gotten rid of the purple. In comes the black and the gold there. Scan that QR code and check out the guys today.